All right. So again, a very warm welcome to everyone from my side here, from Chicago area in the States. Actually, it's a little bit late over here. It's almost 1 a.m. The exact time, 12:40 a.m. So just call me, give me some slack here if I'm
No
not
worries.
the fastest at this point. But I'm super excited, super happy to get started here. And I want to introduce and start off with this person here. And just a quick question into the round. Does anyone know who that person is? Or
Yes.
Go ahead, guys.
who knows that?
You can put it on the chat box. Ah, there we go. You're getting some answers.
Okay.
It's Sophia, the robot.
Exactly. So Sophia is actually, one second, is the first robot citizen. Sophia was developed by Hanson Robotics in Hong Kong, and Sophia's birth date, so that's what they call it, or activation date, was on February 14th. And the fun fact here, Sophia is actually a citizen of Saudi Arabia. So Sophia is the first robot citizen of the world. So it was more of a marketing, advertising gag spiel. However, had gained some traction, and obviously some of you guys know her, but Sophia is considered AI, but it's not really real AI. It's not that smart, and it's more of a chatbot with a face. So with that being said, we're talking about AI, and with that being said, AI is not just emerged. It has been around for quite some time, and I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty here in a bit, but here just a quick overview that actually AI started in the 1940s. 1946 was the first time when the term AI was developed. And it has a couple of different subsets, which I'm going to talk a little bit later on. But in order to dig into this presentation here, I just want to give you one last reference. And that is, you probably can hear it from my accent, but I'm German. Actually, my mom is from Chile. So I've got a couple of different backgrounds here. That's why I'm trilingual, English, Spanish, German. And what you see here is a castle where in Germany where I live. And what I want to convey with this picture is it's a beautiful castle, but the most important thing, and even building such castle, is the foundation. So with that being said, the foundation for AI, the foundation for all type of marketing with AI is just also a lot of marketing techniques. And yeah, if you don't have a really good foundation down the road and going to AI, you're not gonna create some good experience. So it's very important to build a good marketing foundation, and what that means, I will tell you in a second. So let me get started here, and I'm gonna switch around because my move is not working properly. So with that being said, here's what we are gonna discuss in this webinar. So first, we're gonna talk about the top techniques required for marketers, the foundation, everything what we need to know. Then we are going to take a little deep dive into AI and ML, machine learning and marketing, what it is, and how AI and ML is used in marketing. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about chatbots. So with no further ado, let's get started with the top techniques. And to start here, I just want to say, I want to give you and build confidence with you. AI it can be very intimidating, or machine learning can be very complex, but I will give you a couple of different concepts, just some definitions of different terminology, so you get the hang of what that AI and the machine learning actually means, and then a little bit of demystifying this piece, because at the end of the day, confidence is the foundation, again, for all business relations. And this is a little older quote, so it means that the degree of confidence a man or a woman has in others, and the degree the confidence others have in him or her determines a man or woman standing in the commercial and industrial world. So what we're going to have with learning all of this is building confidence to talk in the marketing space, and also just being more confident in, okay, I'm actually capable of doing marketing. I'm actually knowing what I'm doing, and that's what we're discussing, especially in a marketing related field, in a AI related field. So with that being said, the top techniques for marketers, quick excursion here. The marketing jobs are not going to go away, not even with AI. We're still going to be here because there's plenty of stuff that machines, robots cannot do. So with that being said, there are a couple of different areas and techniques we have to analyze and then think about and see, okay, which skills, which expertise do we have to acquire? So with that being said, there are two different expertise areas I want to focus on to begin with, and then also a couple of different skills. So from an expertise standpoint, we have the domain expertise. So domain expertise means basically everything that you know about the industry. It is more business related. So let's say if you're working in education, or in an education company, so education would be your industry, your domain. And important to know there is that you learn a lot about your industry, your business, the challenges, the opportunities within that industry, risks, etc. So whatever you can absorb for whichever industry you be working in or you want to work in, that's very important to know, because that's a key key expertise you want to have. I also, if I have to hire people, I would look at going back again here, these two areas, the domain expertise and the functional expertise, and then also different type of skills, which we're going touching later on. So next area would be the functional expertise. So functional expertise is more something of, okay, I'm working in marketing, I know all about the concepts, what type of marketing pieces they are. So basically I know the ins and out of marketing and how to apply it, what kind of processes there are. And all of this, by the way, is taught in something that will later be announced. But yeah, so these two areas are the first areas to focus on. Then the next area is the areas of digital marketing which are in demand. So as I mentioned before, there's a lot of different marketing pieces, marketing areas, and as of today, the jobs are still building up and coming in, because with digital transformation, meaning the technology advancement and everything, all these areas within digital marketing are being more and more relevant, more and more filled, and there's more and more job demand in all these. So with that being said, you have different areas like digital marketing strategy, brand content and storytelling, social media, email, different channels here. Then search engine optimization and search engine marketing, programmatic ads, all these pieces, all these individual areas you can work on, or you can combine these. For example, digital marketing strategy would touch on all the other ones below. And then you have also very technical pieces, meaning analytics, marketing technology, basically everything above there is also technical, very technical, but the latter ones here are really in the nitty-gritty on tech side of things. The good news here, and why AI and machine learning is so important, is because AI and machine learning will support all those areas you've seen here on the left. So it's not something, again, that will push away jobs or push away marketing. It is more of a support system. It makes you more efficient in your marketing when and if you know how to use it. And so with no further ado, now we're gonna learn what AI and ML, machine learning, is in marketing, what it actually is in general concepts, and also the use cases within marketing. So to start with, AI is everywhere. So AI is a very big field, and I'm also using AI and ML later on a little bit intertwined, and I'm gonna refer much maturely to AI, because the term is more broader. But if we would be very specific and very to the point, we would really differentiate it per use case. But for this realm, we're just going to talk about AI. So with that being said, here you can see a bunch of different AI applications. Marketers really like to put their logos in clusters. So that's something that's called Lumascape. And that one is specifically to AI. And then in the next one here, and that's from Scott Brinker. He's considered a guru of marketing technology. So MarTech is short for marketing technology. And he started putting together a marketing technology landscape. So meaning all type of different areas where marketing technology service providers are operating. So as you can see on the left side, it has evolved from around 900 solutions in 2014, exploded to 8,000 solutions last year. Just think about that kind of growth is incredible. And it's also very, difficult to keep track, and that's why there are some things called also marketing stacks, which are different from organization to organization, because it also depends on the organizational needs. So as you can see here, there are different clusters, different areas. So for example, in the advertising and promotion space, you have all these service providers. That doesn't mean that everyone here is AI enabled, but a lot of these pieces also have AI components with it. And that's why it's important to know what AI is, what it does, and how to apply it. Next thing, AI is also not going to go away. As you can see here on the chart, is basically also in 2020, this chart is from 2019, but it's still relatively accurate, and it's a forecast afterwards. But what you can see here, in 2020, and I checked that number, the annual AI software revenue was over 20 billion. So this is in millions. So in 2020, just AI software had a revenue of 20 billion, and it's projected to explode even more. So AI is not a fad. Machine learning is not a fad. It's just the start, just the beginning at this point. So how did we get here? AI enablers were kind of the pieces which drove an AI. So the infrastructure, the technological advances made AI really working today. So we have stuff like 5G, we have higher processing powers in computers. A lot of gamers actually also pushed that advance because gamers wanted to have more and better graphics, and that's why a lot of the GPUs, the graphic processing units, have advanced, and this also enabled a lot of AI use cases. So AI use cases are not specifically to marketing, they are used across all kind of functions in industry. Actually, in the medical space, AI is used a lot. There are some case studies there where AI is being used as some image recognition to identify metastatic breast cancer scans, and it is now more accurate actually than doctors predicting those. But it's also not putting away what doctors would be doing or would be using those for. It will just make their life easier because it is helping to not misprognose any diagnoses here. The last piece, organizations and competitive advantages. So organizations are realizing how important AI is. Actually, the more sophisticated and advanced organizations, the top Fortune 500 organizations, everyone there, the top performers, they are all using already AI applications. So it's that's again the difference between good and great. The great ones already have their use cases in place and started testing and playing around with AI. So what is AI? This guy here, Professor John McCarthy, coined that term AI with a bunch of couple of other peoples. And he coined it that way, that artificial intelligence is the science of making machines do things that would require intelligence if done by man. So as you can see here, that was his computer and his background. I can tell you from my side, I haven't seen those computers either, but I grew up with floppy disks and these type of things. I know how technology has advanced, and I think everyone here knows how rapidly it still advances, and that's again one enabler, one driver for AI up to date. So we talked a lot about AI. You can see the graphic here on the right, that AI is more the broader term. And then you have a couple of subcomponents. Machine learning is part of AI, and deep learning is a subset of machine learning. So with that being said, machine learning is that piece of AI which we are now discussing and which is actually also enabling marketing technologies. So what is machine learning? So with machine learning, you're teaching a machine, a computer, basically to do a particular thing. So you can teach it either through supervised or unsupervised learning or reinforcement learning. These are a couple of different definitions here. You can see them on the right, but it is basically you're giving them some certain data sets. They're doing something with it, and you get some output there. I'll get to that in a second again. But there are different ways of doing this. We don't have to go into the details because for us marketers, we don't have to really understand everything there and how AI works. It's more from a data scientist perspective. That's good. But as marketers, we just have to understand, okay, what can AI do for us? And which use case would make sense in my daily use at work. So that is considered machine learning. And then you have a second piece, which is called deep learning. Deep learning is basically now the next level of machine learning. It's something called neural networks. So think about the neurons in your brains, or everything interconnected and all the signals sending through. And that's what you can see with AI. Or that's what you have with AI here as well. So it is basically interconnected layers of algorithms. You have different classifiers, different ways to process the data, and it gets more complex. And I'm touching on it in a bit, but yeah, these are the main components and concepts of AI. So as I touched on before, very, very simplified AI. And that's what I want you to take away with. It's basically you just put some data in, and that's very important. Also, the data readiness of different organizations. So there's, in order to actually use AI, you have to have a lot of steps before that. So think about data collections and think about what type of data you use, and think about which data would actually be used for drawing any type of insights or doing anything with it. But in simple terms, AI uses different inputs, different type of data, then does their magic with the different layers of algorithms. So just that's basically what's happening within the machine, and then you get that output, and that output is that one thing that is very important for us marketers, and it varies. And we'll get to it in a second and see what type of applications, what type of ways we can use AI in marketing. So there are different type of AI applications, and I'm touching now on segmentation and recommendation. So with that being said, these are the, let's say, major areas where we are navigating in, and also this is more of a general approach, and then I'll show you how this will actually be used in marketing. So segmentation is relatively simple. That means you can segment different data types and think about, okay, what kind of customers would fall into one segment, what kind of customers would fall in the other segment. But in a sense, it's basically classifying different data sets. So how that now has been applied on or to the next level is image recognition. So image recognition is just a subset or part of a segmentation approach. And what or how image recognition works is, now computers, for example, analyze a bunch of different cat images. So you have a test data set. That's basically, again, how you teach the machine to learn. Is this a cat or is this a dog? You give them 20,000, or you give the machine 20,000 images. Based on that, you can have supervised or unsupervised learning, meaning supervised, you say, okay, this is a cat, this is not a cat, this is a cat, this is a dog. So that way the machine learns, or the machine learns it on itself. So it draws conclusions about, okay, different or the cats, they all have these kind of ears here, they have these eyes, and based on the 20,000 images I analyzed, I see the similarities here, and I can predict, okay, now this image is a cat. So with that being said, you have this type of segmentation. So now we're going into the next level, and now you can see on the right, if you think about now, just to differentiate between a cat or a dog, that's one thing, but now you have to differentiate between so many other things, and teach a machine, okay, this is a traffic light, this is a person, this is a backpack. So based on all these informations, and then what you put in to the machine in order that the machine understands, okay, these are the things to take into consideration to identify, okay, that's a backpack, or that's a person. So all that, you can see how complex that can get, and that's why we're still on the relatively early stage, but we have made some major advancements. So what you can see also on the right side, this is also some kind of image recognition. But what I want to say here is a lot of self-driving cars are using that type of technique. So it's not, again, not only in marketing, it's enabled across all different type of industries. And if you want to realize and identify where AI is going, just don't only look within marketing, but also analyze the overall trends and future of AI. And then you can see, okay, AI is moving in that direction. That might be also funneling down, trickling down to marketing at one point. So the next piece is recommendation. So there are a couple of different recommendation systems, but I chose these two. So there's a collaborative filtering and a content-based filtering. The difference here is in the collaborative filtering, you have similar users, and in the content-based filtering, you have similar content. As you can see here, it's articles. And what that AI solution does is, okay, with similar users, they have different classification, different data points to it, but both are very similar in their segmentation and their behavior and whatever you would classify them. Could be age, could be or could be demographics, could be interests. All these things, again, it's very important to think about the different classifiers for those segments. So if those similar users in one segment are now reading one article, and they're reading the same article, they can now predict to both users to one user based on if the other user now reads another article that article might be also interesting for that other user, just because they have the same interest, and that's also AI enabled. So that's how you do it with similar users, get us same segments. So as you can see, segmentation enables also the recommendation at one point. On the other side, we don't have to necessarily compare the segments, but we can also have the user and see, okay, if that user reads that article, there are similar articles talking about, for example, AI. If I'm reading something about AI, I can get a recommendation based on my machine talking about, hey, here are a couple of other articles because you read something about AI, and here's something about machine learning, or here's something about AI in marketing. So based on that, that means based on the content you have read, you can get recommendations, and how that looks in marketing we'll get to in a second as well.
So Fabian, Ritika has actually got a point. She says social media marketing like Instagram marketing using digital platforms. I guess her question is AI heavily used when you're doing whether it's organic or inorganic social media marketing?
Yeah. So AI is everywhere. That's a good call here. And if you look about or look into social media, a very important concept here is the lookalike audiences. So if you think about Facebook, and if you would place an ad there, you can select your audience based on different interest types and say, okay, or you can upload your own first-party data. So that is the data you collect as a company on your users. There's all different type of data points. You can upload that to Facebook and say, okay, these are my best customers, or these are the people who are purchasing my products the most. Based on the information we have now on those, Facebook can create a lookalike audience. So what you can see here on the left side, similar users, similar interests, and then based on also the interactions of that one group, we can now recommend different advertisements, etc., to other audiences. So great addition there. And yeah, I can't see the chat, so if any chats or anything pops up, just let me know.
Sure.
I just see my presentation here.
No worries.
Awesome.
I think people are very curious to know the applications of AI in marketing. Yeah, that's what.
Right. So this was just to level set,
Correct.
just to understand the basic here, and now we're getting into the nitty-gritty, the cool stuff, the fun stuff. But I didn't just want to start in. Just we needed to introduce some concepts, some basics. But what AI or what can AI do in marketing? So here are the most common use cases and also the most advanced use cases, and these are facial recognition, voice recognition, predictive analytics, what we just discussed with the social piece, so targeted online advertising and the segmentation here, and then also chatbots, virtual assistants, and such things. So what AI can do is, as you can see here, read and understand written text, recognize and classify images, and recognize facial features and objects. And how that looks is, for example, what you can see here. So with AI and marketing, there are different things we can analyze. So for example, brand sentiment. So based on AI algorithms, we can now see if someone posts something, as you can see here on the right, when in Coca-Cola, and smiles, it has a good sentiment about the brand, or also on a natural language processing piece. And I'm going to talk about all these different pieces in a minute as well. But we can also now analyze what's the sentiment about it. If someone says happy stuff or anything about that, it's right on brand with Coca-Cola, and it's a good thing for Coca-Cola because that's how Coca-Cola advertises. And then also it can be used for example, track sponsored events. So now we have a Coca-Cola event. People are uploading images. These images can be recognized and can see, oh wow, that event has actually created a lot of traction, a lot of awareness, and also by sharing all of this, now we can draw a conclusion about what kind of reach it had, because now we can analyze, okay, here are the images that are posted at that event. That person who posted that image has X amount of followers. Now we analyze how many people have posted it in that event, in that time frame, what that type of reach was, and then we can backtrack, okay, was this a good investment for a brand to host that event? And we can also educate for further decisions about, hey, we maybe shouldn't be using that part in the event, or actually, for example, that one video we showed or that advertisement was very well received, and that's maybe something we can use in our advertising campaign down the road. So this also goes a little bit hand in hand with consumer insights, so that the trends, etc., what I just described, can be analyzed, but also it can be used to analyze different trends, for example, in food. So now if we look, and this is all considered social listening. So now if we look at different posts in Instagram, and we see a lot of people are now posting bubble tea pictures, for example. Hey, that might be something that is emerging, is trending. Maybe Coca-Cola should jump on that bubble tea approach and come up with a new product here, because that's very hip and in. So these are also ways to use it. And then as I touched on before, segmentation wise, hey, which customers are buying the most, or how many reorders do they have, what are their shopping carts, and then again with AI, you can now analyze faster all different type of layers, because if a person, if a human would try to analyze all this, he or she still can do it, but it's going to take a lot of time. What AI does, it makes that in seconds, split seconds, and spits out all that data, all that information. So you don't, or we as marketers, we don't have to really do all that work. So it's just a nicer and faster for us to work and draw insights. So because what AI cannot do yet, maybe at one point, but all like that creative stuff, strategy pieces, big picture thinking, drawing conclusions about other pieces, that's something that AI is not as capable of. So for example, if two very conflicting concepts are crashing, AI can get very confused and can get really don't give you too much insights there.
One
And
question
then
I have, Fabian, is so while you can do brand, and I understand the brand sentiment, the consumer insights, segmentation, targeting, is this use of AI for these applications restricted to larger brands or even smaller, let's say either a solopreneur who's running his own agency or smaller companies, marketing divisions also have access to this power of AI today? How?
yeah, so AI is very accessible. There are a lot of different startups coming up with AI solutions, and you can plug them in. So what a lot of marketers do nowadays is they use different type of tech stacks and think about, okay, where would AI make sense in my business? So meaning what kind of processes can I automate with AI? If I'm doing a lot of email marketing, no, I can use AI to either write copy. That's actually one part that AI can do, which actually does, or sometimes AI does even better. Banks are using AI in that realm really good to test different subject lines. Testing is also a big thing in AI. So there's a lot of different things where all type of companies could use it, could plug them into their tech stack, but there's also a lot of groundwork to do prior to using it. For smaller companies, it's easier. For larger companies, it can get more complex because, for example, here at Bosch, we have a lot of different systems, a lot of different data, and then it comes to that point where you have to think about, okay, how can I now incorporate the data I have in one area in the other area? How can I combine that? And what could be the right solution? So
Got it.
it's always a little bit different based on the brands. And also one of the big things here is that a lot of brands, companies are still a little bit hesitant, shy of it, because they don't really know what AI is capable of. So it's very important to
I think
also.
on that note, I think we have a question from Saima. She's saying, is it possible to ace these kind of techniques without having a tech background as a digital marketer?
Is it? Can you repeat it?
Like as a digital marketer who doesn't have a very strong tech background, is it possible to use AI in their day-to-day, marketing campaigns and so on?
Yeah. So AI, you don't really have to have a big technical background. I also don't have too much of a technical background. I have some good understanding, but I'm not a data scientist or coder, and I don't know the nitty-gritty here. There is a term also coined from Scott Brinker, which is called citizen coders or citizen developers. And that means that nowadays you don't really have to know how to code anymore, but you can make your own application basically by drag and drop pieces. That's how you can, for example, create different marketing email campaigns or different other things like the way you build websites. It's also
kind of a no-code kind of a
exactly
way of building out stuff. Got it.
Exactly. So with that being said, you don't really have to know everything,
That's good to hear.
every little thing exactly in AI, and it will just make your life a lot easier. And probably everyone is already using AI to some extent somewhere, if you are using social listening tools or these pieces. But these are all solutions also by different service providers. So for example, if a bigger company uses HubSpot. HubSpot has a lot of different AI applications. Same thing with Salesforce. Or all bigger marketing service providers, and they all have their marketing or AI applications. If you want to go specific and think, okay, I need some AI that writes copy for me, then there are a bunch of AI applications for that. And based on your individual needs and also the way you collect data, the way you store it, where it is, how you syndicate it, based on that, it's very dependent on the company which application it would actually plug into their
That's actually
AI environment.
a very interesting point, because I think Hiren has also said something on the chat box, like AI tools for content creation, right? I think that's what you are referring to when you say how to use AI to create copies.
Right.
So has that started taking a lot of adoption in some sense, where marketers are starting to use AI tools to actually create content?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, banks are using it to test their copy line or write copy lines. There are some really nice use cases there. There are use cases, and I actually have a video. I hope the sound plays. Not sure if it does, but there's also a video which shows you how, for example, landing pages are being created based on what you put into Google and the keywords. So now they are customized and personalized landing pages, and also the whole personalization piece is enabled by AI. So
Cool.
yeah, we touch on this just now, a lot of things here. So this is, for example, another image recognition of a facial study. And let's see if this one plays here. I hope it does. Okay. Right, this doesn't play, but basically what it does is it or what L'Oreal know what you can do is it recognizes your face. You can have different type of makeups being applied, and the way you use AI is just also to provide more value to your customer, to get customer experiences. So what brands can do here now is they can have these type of facial recognition AI solutions implemented, and then you give, or you either have it in an app or you even have it in store, where it fits in, and then customers could actually use their smartphone, look about, okay, how does this lip stick look on me? How would that eyelash look? How it could even be clothes and these type of things. So that's all enabled by image recognition or facial recognition. That's why we discussed it in the beginning, and that's what enables now AI in marketing to create that experience. So the next area in AI is data analytics. And as you can see in this graph here, data analytics is also the majority or most used segment of AI. It's used across all different areas, meaning geographical areas, meaning North America, Europe, Asia Pacific. And here you can see also what type of other AI use cases are there. So for example, on-site personalization, that's what we touched on. Here, optimization testing, also what I mentioned with the different subject lines in emails, leading up to email marketing. So you can see how that use case also progresses through the different areas. And yeah, these are the common or most common used areas currently in AI. So how that looks again is we are trying based on the data analytics or the insights we're drawing on the data, all of this, or the optimal goal in marketing, and how marketing has evolution over the years, is from a mass marketing one-to-many approach to now we are trying to have this hyper personalization, one-to-one marketing that we want to reach as a marketing level per brands. And now you can think, okay, if you are a brand and millions of people like you and follow you, and you want to create personalized experience for each of the individual people, as one marketer, that's nearly impossible. That's why you plug in AI solutions, because AI can do it so fast and can create now very personalized content per user. And there are a couple of different background pieces that would work there. Previously, it has been cookies. Cookies are going away, so that's why it's so important to focus on the first-party data collection, because all that is super important to enable AI and AI use cases. So that's why companies now also start to collect more and more first-party data. So quick definition: first-party data is the data a company owns. Second-party data is some kind of co-ownership. So that means I own some of the data. I upload it to Facebook. Facebook does something with it. So now you have already some second-party data from Facebook combined with your first-party data, and that's again the lookalike audiences. These pieces, the segmentation piece, that's the first and second-party data combined. And third-party data is also a term that's a data set you would acquire, for example, from externals, some research on some millennial demographics or something, and you could use that third-party data also to plug into your systems.
So that's an interesting point you're making, right? I think we have a question from Mala. She, she wants to understand for entry level or mid-level digital marketers, how do I start tapping into these providers of AI? How do I even get access to this? Is there a way to say, okay, if I want to look at brand sentiment, these are the easy to use AI providers I should plug and play with? Or if it's for content creation, these are 4 or 5 tools that are available, and so on, right? How should that early digital marketer even think of leveraging AI?
That's a great question. All of this is basically a subset of a digital transformation. So it is not only about AI. AI is very advanced. Companies nowadays, they still struggle to keep up with social media, to keep up with email. So don't worry, don't get freaked out like, oh, okay, I don't know which AI application or anything to use. That's yeah, a couple of steps down the road. But if you want to use AI applications, the best practice or the common recommendation is always to find some things, some area which you want to test and use AI. So for example, if you want to analyze the sentiment of your brand, and you don't want to do this manually and go through all the comments in your Facebook or Insta feed and analyze, okay, did that person say something bad or good about me? There are some service providers, and the easiest way to find those is just Google them, like sentiment service providers, or how can, well, yeah, just put that into Google. You will get a lot of different offers there. There are offers like Sprinkler, and which is pretty big in that sentiment space, but also HubSpot, wherever you can also ask it already if you have some sort of marketing technology company working with you. So a lot of bigger companies, for example, have HubSpot or SAP, Marketing
Yeah.
Cloud, or all these things, they already have AI solutions. So now if you think about, okay, I want to find out more about social and how that brand sentiment there is, you can go first to existing service provider in your in your space, in your company, and ask them, hey, do you have an AI solution, or do you have something in that realm? They probably have it already if it's bigger, but then also based on your own needs, based also on how complex or what that user experience, the user interface of those different service providers, how that looks like, and maybe it's not really how you like it. There are also a lot of different other vendors, other providers where it might be a better use for it, and that's
Got
why
it.
it's important just to do your own research and see, okay, does this make sense for me? Can I navigate it? Is it user friendly? Do I understand how to do it? And that's why there's this term called tech stack,
Hmm.
and that means you have a whole different type of marketing technology providers working with or stacking on top of each other, because also one piece can inform the other one. So what kind of sentiment I'm getting from my social, and maybe also some reactions to my campaign, now I can plug that and use that to create another campaign, an email campaign follow-up, or these things, because now we realize, okay, that post is trending, that post has some really good traction. We are getting a lot of different insights there, and then say, okay, and let's take that Coca-Cola example again. This is somehow very often being used in currently in combination with some kind of whiskey or rum. Hey, let's create a partnership, or let's do something there, just because we draw that insight from
Hmm.
that area.
Got it. Interesting.
Okay, so I think that video is also not playing. Damn it. But I'm also talking a lot, so that's fine
It's
too.
okay. Is it
Wha-
a good spot to just introduce the program?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Um, Fabian, if you just don't mind, you can just go to the program introduction slide.
Mhm.
So folks, I'll just take a quick 2 minute, pit stop here. So what we have talked about today focuses a lot on, next generation techniques, how to use AI in marketing, and of course there are very interesting case studies and applications that Fabian will talk about in a short bit. Uh, but I just want to take a minute to introduce, what AntWak is and what we are doing here. So it's a platform where we are providing access to really experienced professionals in different domains. In this case, in digital marketing, like people like Fabian, who's worked in their domain for a decade or more. We have, about 8 to 10 such professionals coming from different brands, whether it's Netflix, Bosch, Amazon, Google, and they will be coming and doing a very immersive 16-week program. Uh, Fabian, if you just go to the next one.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's a 16-week, what you can call as a boot camp on digital marketing for people who want to transition into this domain. Either you guys are graduates who are looking at digital marketing as your first career, or people who are trying to transition from your earlier roles into digital marketing. This is the perfect program for you guys. Uh, it covers a very holistic view of digital marketing, uh, about 10 to 11 different modules we will be focusing on over 16 weeks. Classes will all be live on weekends. You will be learning from the best professionals. There's no teacher, no professor here. They're all working professionals with rich experience, practical experience. Uh, Outside of the live classes during the week, you will be given very topical contextual projects to get your hands dirty on. So at the end of the boot camp, you would have worked on 8 to 10 different projects, and also had access to a variety of tools while executing on those projects. Uh, so if you guys are interested in knowing more about it, there is a link here. Please click on it, apply, and one of our education counselors will come and call you and connect with you. Uh, just to give you a flavor of what kind of modules we are covering, there are 10 modules, right from what Fabian was saying, right? Whether you want to understand AI or how to use chatbots, you need to have your ground floor very strong. So right from fundamentals of marketing, content, search engine optimization, social media, strategies, paid marketing, and then we get into marketing analytics, and then of course brand and storytelling and so on. And of course Fabian will be taking the course on the 10th, I think it's the 8th or 9th module, right, on the next page, which is around the next generation digital marketing techniques. So it's a very jam-packed 16-week program, very interesting hands-on kind of a boot camp. Please sign up if you guys are in a position to register in the next 1 hour. There is a special offer for you guys. We have a rupees 5,000 rupees off on the bootcamp itself. So please avail of this opportunity. Uh, I will quickly get back to Fabian and move into the next set of applications in marketing. Thanks, folks.
Awesome. Oops. So we touched also on natural language processing, and one important piece here also to note is like this image or the eyes in natural languages, so the ears, that is really advancing also marketing and AI in marketing. So prior to that, it wasn't as relevant, but now, based on all this image recognition, the eyes, and the natural language processing, that is really important for marketers, because now you can create the experience I mentioned before, but also in the natural language processing piece, we have stuff like conversational AI, so chatbots, voice search, but also the content creation, which I mentioned before, which is the personalization piece and the copywriting piece. So as you can see, natural language processing is a combination of all those three terms mentioned before. And I had another video. I'm gonna compile those videos and we can send them out to the attendees afterwards, because these are really cool marketing case studies, and that's basically why I didn't talk too much about them, just because you see a lot of super cool AI applications there, and yeah, it's just sad that they're currently not playing, but I think we're gonna send them afterwards, so you can watch them on your own. But yeah, I recommend watching them all, because then you can really see how AI is being used, and you see it in the video on the screen, what kind of impact it has. And then lastly, the chatbots in marketing. I wasn't I'm not going to touch too much on it, because it's also a big part of that course. And that's also why I also didn't go too deep in all the different areas, because I don't want to spoil too much there either, because you guys can all learn the ins and outs and everything in there in all the other courses, and also in the AI and marketing courses. We're really going to deep dive and explore different concepts. We're going to have case studies on different brands using AIs and seeing what's working, what's not. So a lot of cool stuff, fun stuff coming up there. So with that being said, chatbots in marketing are all over. So I think almost everyone here probably has has used has used a chatbot. And also this is the trend here, that half of consumers actually want interactions via chat. They don't want to call customer services anymore. They just want to write. And also, especially millennials nowadays, for them it's even higher. They just prefer texting and chatting with the brands or wherever websites they're interacting with. So chatbots also a very important marketing level. And also by 2020, 2022, these are predictions. There are 75 to 90% of queries are handled by bots. And another side note here, that banks and a lot of different other industries, they can automate up to 90% of their customer interaction using chatbots. So as I mentioned banks before, this is how a chatbot, for example, could look like in a banking situation. I'm also super excited because we're in my AI and ML course, we're actually going to build out a chatbot and see how that would work and how you would put those queries, those responses and everything together. It's actually not too complicated to build out a chatbot. So for a person who asked about, do I have to be technical or not? You will see how easy it is to build a chatbot nowadays, and it's actually pretty much fun to do it. So as you can see here, and probably I don't really have to explain what a chatbot is, but it's gonna get or analyze the input here. For example, how much did I spend on Uber in September? So it classifies, okay, spend Uber September, draws that information there, and then gives you that curated content and gives you that answer. Let's say you spend $343 there. How about October? So now it's already conversational. It refers to, okay, the question before was how much did I spend on Uber? Now with October, now it's gonna give you the next query here. And that's basically how you would do it in a chatbot environment. You have different layers, nodes, etc. And based on what you have inputted into the chatbot and different answer schemes, it's gonna give you certain answers to the input. Lastly, this was the last video, which is also not working, I guess. But just a quick recap what we have learned, what we have touched on, the technique for marketers here, the domain and functional expertise, skills and marketing areas, which are all, or pretty much all, are covered in AntWak's program. So if you really want to go into digital marketing, I recommend you going through that bootcamp here, because you're going to learn all of those things which you would need in order to be successful in digital marketing. And then AI and machine learning specific, we have learned about the history and AI enablers, the definitions, the general applications, and also the applications in marketing. So just some refreshers here: the image recognition, data analytics, natural language processing, content creation, chatbots. A lot of ground covered, but we just scratched the surface here, because you get the full insight, everything there in that course. And lastly, why are we doing all of these? As marketers, our number one priority is not just to get people to buy stuff, but nowadays we want to create customer experiences. We want to provide value to the customers, and we don't just want to scream, hey, 25% off. No, we use this to deliver more personalized experience, and we use the data and analytics to make better decisions, to again create better personalized experience, to create value for the customers, to draw insights. And with all of this, we're also going to improve our effectiveness and efficiency of our core marketing workflow. So let's say if you have different email workflows mapped out, previously you had to send them manually or put them out there. Now you can, with AI and machine learning, you can automate it and make it, for example, interaction based. So now if someone clicks at one link in that email, it fires up, and another email would come up a couple of days later talking about what has been interacted with that email, for example. So all these combined gives you a variety of different marketing AI use cases. And again, AI is just an enabler to all the other ones I mentioned before, all the other areas. AI is everywhere, and AI is gonna grow. So if you know what AI and ML in marketing does, this gives you yourself and your career a competitive advantage, because now you can talk to your boss, to the supervisors, about your knowledge in that realm, and they're gonna draw on you like, hey, can you tell me more about this? Because the more senior the people are in the organizations, the even less familiar are they with all the digital pieces. So it will give you a really good standing if you know what you're talking about. And that concludes this presentation here from my side. I wish I could have showed you all the videos here. Yeah,
I think that's the last point that you made is very interesting. You know, especially for early professionals, if we can get our hands dirty, if we get the right set of skills in AI and how to use it in marketing, then it sets us up to have that advantage within the organization as well. We become kind of indisposable to folks because they understand that AI is going to be the future. Uh, I think that's well said. I think that there's one or two comments here, Fabian, if we have a couple of minutes. So Abdur has a more fundamental question. I think you covered it at the start. It's more like, can you please state the difference between AI and machine learning? I think
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So AI is the broad term. So everyone nowadays, also people are using it almost intertwined between AI and machine learning. But if you think about it that way, and there's also in that language, natural language processing slide, it's a good way of seeing it. And as you can see here, AI is the overall encompassing. Machine learning and deep learning are just subcomponents of it. Same thing with natural language processing. Natural language processing is a combination of AI and machine learning, because what natural language processing does is now it tries to give you more intelligent output. So you can now ask, for example, what's the weather outside? Now you have a couple of layers here. It's gonna use your location, it's gonna use your time, it's gonna use your area. As I mentioned, it's going to use the weather data, and that's why it's called now more intelligent, because now there are a couple of different layers to it. So with that being said, you have AI is the big component, so artificial intelligence. Machine learning is just a subcomponent of AI, and you have all different type of subcomponents to machine learning as well. And AI could also, for example, now self-driving cars could be considered in the AI realm, or predictive manufacturing, predictive industry 4.0. That means, for example, you can have AI applications in different toolings, different robots there, and predict, okay, now we use that tool for X amount of hours. It probably is about to break, so we should replace it in order that our production facility doesn't but is not able to produce anymore, or the production will stop. With predictive maintenance, for example, that can be used to intervene that, or to prevent that. But that is also another subset of AI. So as you can see, that is a broader term, and machine learning is basically just the way you teach a machine to do certain things, input all the algorithms, output. That's machine learning.
Got it. One last one from Mayuri. She's tried to simplify AI, right? Isn't using AI like basically packing people up in boxes because they know what you like and therefore will constantly show you what you like. So you basically don't have any chance to explore anything else. You might, unless you find something explicitly search for it. similar to what's happening with our shopping cart, where the you might also like or the YouTube recommendations.
Okay. Yeah, so so it is. There's a term also called the paradox of choice. So nowadays consumers are overwhelmed and overflooded with so many different offerings. So many. We at one point we just had one toothpaste. Now we have 100,000 toothpaste offerings. So that makes it, or AI makes that decision or paradox of a decision a little bit easier because it limits the amount of offerings, the amount of choices where you have to adjust. Because if you now start researching about okay, and I need a new computer monitor, there are a bunch of computer monitors you can select. But now if a brand or a company knows more about you, or Amazon knows more about you and you, what type of computer you have, what monitor would go with that one. These type of recommendations will or are being used for customers, so they don't have to spend all their time and effort to find the best monitors. You get a couple of monitors recommended. If you want to go deeper, you can, but it is more meant to make the customer's life simpler. But it is also like, okay, now this brand is following me around on the internet because I visited that website, and now I'm getting ads bombarded left and right just because I was on that website, and I kind of feel stalked. That's not the best way to do it. If you use some kind of like these retargeting techniques, there are some good ways to do it. For example, you, instead of like recommending this thing all the time, or maybe you even have purchased it already and now it still shows you. No, instead of this, you can recommend something. For example, if you bought a nice dress, hey, these are shoes that people used to wear with the dress, or these are some accessories going really nice with your dress. So that's how you see how you can add value to it, instead of just, hey, here's another, or here's the same dress and you already bought it and you're still going to see it all the time. So that's on us marketers to make that personalization piece more consumer oriented and value driven, meaning that the way we do our marketing should always provide a value to the customer, not annoy them or stalk them around. And that's basically what the good or the great companies do great, and the good companies do okay, and the bad companies are the ones who are feeling or making you feel like a stalker, or that they are stalking you, not you are the stalker.
Got it. I think that's a wrap for today, Fabian. On that note, right? Once again, thanks a ton for taking out more than an hour at so late in the night. Really appreciate the effort. I think we had a really engaging discussion, and like you said, we will go deeper into some of these topics during our boot camp. Thanks again, folks on the call. I'm glad you guys had a chance to meet Fabian. I'm sure this was a very insightful session for you guys as well. And be sure to check out the program details on the link that I have pasted in the chat box. And please sign up if you're interested, and we will shortly get back to you. Have a good weekend and take care. Stay safe.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Fabian.
Bye.
Thank you, Fabian, sir.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Fabian. Very helpful, very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, glad you liked it.